Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Ultra Q. My name is Red. I'm joined by Mel.
Hello.
And Razen.
Hello.
Last week, we talked through some of our experience with Toku. Well, Mel's experience with Toku. We also talked about the movie, Shin Ultraman, which seems to have done alright, with just 2 days of screening, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
This week, this is officially episode 1 of the podcast. We have gone all the way back to the beginning to 1966?
Yeah.
6. To begin our journey with the first 3 episodes of Ultra Q. First things first, right at the top, I just wanted to say, I can already tell that this show was a mistake, because I was like, I've got time to add 3 episodes of a thing to my life and then record a podcast about it. That's easy. I'm not exceptionally busy outside of work. And then I watched 3 episodes of Ultra Q and I was like, I gotta watch a fucking Godzilla movie. I gotta watch some kaiju stuff.
Same.
So I will say, right off the bat, back in 2020, I tried a project of going through all the Toho kaiju Godzilla movies, and that fell off. And maybe one day I'll return to it in some form. That'd be cool. But I did say going straight into Ultra Q. Oh yeah, it's just one of those condensed into 30 minutes. They just did the thing.
Yeah, it was. I think I'll catch the bug. I will probably watch a kaiju movie between now and next week. Just because I was like, this isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, before we get into 3 episodes of Ultra Q, we don't hang out as much as we should outside of this. Toko or otherwise, does anyone have anything interesting that they've watched or read or played? Because I don't.
I got some stuff.
You got some stuff?
Yeah. So, me and my friend group. Well, okay. I say me and my friend group as if this was a fully original thought that all of us had and then agreed upon. Really what happened is that I have 2 friends in that friend group that grew up watching Blood Plus back in the day when that was on Adult Swim or whatever, which is I don't want to say iconic because I don't actually think it really had any sort of cultural stickiness to it, but it was a show. Yeah. It was a show that was made by Production IG and then aired on Adult Swim in the late 2000s. And it was based on and kind of spun off from a movie called Blood, the Last Vampire, which I own a DVD of now and I plan on watching. And I know has some degree of critical acclaim. The TV series and the one that came after, which I think is called Blood Sea or something, not so much. A little more lukewarm on the reception on those 2. The reason they said we should start watching this, and then I was like, hey, I'll tag along on that. The sole reason being that I know that Suda51, one of the earliest, or not, I don't think even earliest because it was PlayStation 2 era and he was pretty well established by then, but Suda51 made a Blood Plus licensed game that takes place between 2 episodes, and I guess Blood Plus fans really don't like it because of story reasons.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of want to know what the deal is there, and I was like, this would be a good way to maybe catch up with that and then play that game later.
This is a Suda51 deep delve.
Yes, exactly. And I like Suda's stuff, so I was like, I can stomach some whatever anime. The show is incredibly middle of the road quality wise. There's every once in a while a little bit of brilliance or some really nice animation shines through. There are too many goddamn named characters. They don't get enough to do. When they do get stuff to do, it's so archetypal. Saya, the main heroine, who is slowly coming to terms with the fact that she has amnesia and has this horrific past as a vampire who was used as a weapon by the Americans during the Vietnam War or something. Just constantly has the thing of doesn't want to fight or like give into violent impulse, but what that actually translates to in the show is just not doing anything and standing around while other characters like do things on her behalf, and it's getting a little annoying. I feel like the show, like 15 or 16 episodes in, like we should be doing stuff's happening that I figured would have been done around the time that episode 8 happened. It's a very slow burn of a show, and I think not in a good way. But it's an all right time. Sometimes you just got to watch junk food. And I think it's good for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose I lied a little. I've been watching some stuff with you. I've been watching Nanoha, which I was just
I also
talking
have been
about.
watching Nanoha.
Yeah, what a coincidence!
What a coincidence!
My main thing that I have about Nanoha right now, other than I'm having a pretty good time, is no one has a normal room. All the rooms are weird. Everyone's got the weirdest open space imaginable, with one piece of furniture tucked in a corner, and no decorations, one photo of like a parent, and the weirdest low tables, arrangements imaginable. It's so strange. I don't. There's just been no attention paid at all to interior decor. It's very weird. I like it a lot.
It's interesting to see where both Madoka and Symphogear get their stylings from.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Madoka, at least from an architecture standpoint.
Yeah, and Symphogear from a villain standpoint. It's seeing the origins of mechanical magical girl stuff here, seeing the blueprint, very interesting. Otherwise, I'm mostly just keeping up with seasonal stuff. There's a judo anime. It's pretty fun. That's it.
Yeah, I haven't started too much seasonal stuff. I guess I started Trigun Stampede. I watched all of Trigun in preparation for Trigun Stampede. I don't have much to say about that. Animation is pretty good, but they sure are front elements of Trigun that I didn't care for in the latter half of that original show.
Yeah, I've heard about that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have any opinion on it because I haven't touched Trigun.
I have also not watched the new Trigun, but I should honestly, before I do that, I should rewatch the original.
Yeah, it's
been a minute.
Pretty neat. More so in my
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that at the end. Could you repeat that?
Oh, it's more neat in the first half.
Cool.
I don't know. I went back and finished a couple of mid things, I guess. I just watched a bunch of stuff. I'm caught up on the current Precure season.
That is mid.
One of my favorite franchises, and this one is just not it. This season is not it. Nope. Just.
I was gonna. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start Precure from the beginning, but I'm also gonna keep up with the new Precure so it doesn't outpace me. And I picked the wrong Precure to do that. I should have started a year earlier. Everyone liked Tropical Rouge, and no one liked this one.
Yeah, I'm just like, damn, this is the food season, but what were they cooking? Jesus.
Nothing.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I also just went through the second and last season of the Magia Record anime, which is like the Madoka spinoff, and well, that's something. It is there is neat ideas, but it's also very much this is the mobile game spinoff getting an anime adaptation. I think.
Yeah, there's only
somewhere in the
so
last
much you
arc,
can
some
do
girls
there.
trying to do a Char's counterattack. I don't know.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, wait, hold on.
Hang on.
I was just like,
what's the Twitter thread, Mel?
Yes.
I'm just like, there's this elaborate plan to save magical girls, and I'm like, I don't know if this plan would work. It does seem to be a high cost, but might be worth it if it works. But also, all the heroes are like, well, we can't sacrifice anything, so we're actually going to shut down this plan. I'm like, well, that's how it goes usually. Also,
That's how it goes when you're the mobile game anime.
it is weird when it's like, it's the second and the final season because I guess production issues meant they had to lob off the last 4 episodes and do a separate season like months later. I guess production was on fire because the second season like 8 episodes and the final one's 4 episodes, and they had the same opening, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what happened here.
Okay. It seems weird.
It does seem it is weird. Yeah, it's what you'd expect. Also went back and finished for the reason Engage Kiss, which was a seasonal show from last year. That show's all right. It seems like it'd be generic, and it kind of is. A weird like love triangle about like a guy and 2 girls. The wrinkle is one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Classic.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah. I guess the wrinkle in this one is that he's an adult and he's like has he would have like a normal, adjusted, healthy relationship with his other adult girl, but he is single-mindedly devoted to, I have to save my sister to the point of self-destruction. So instead, I will also patch up with this weird demon girl who's like 14 coded. There's like something not exceptional, but also I think there's like interesting things there that make it like stand out a bit more. Even if it's like, nothing great. Really, really at the end of the day, it's a show about how sometimes instead of just having a well-adjusted relationship, men will literally go pursue contracts with demons that use their memories for fuel instead of going to therapy.
Yeah. It's what they'd be doing. Cool. I think on that note, I think we can move into Ultra Q because I want to talk about Ultra Q.
Yeah.
Because Ultra Q is
same.
pretty sick.
Yeah.
I have a manga I've been reading, but on further thought, I think that's going to be a good one for next episode because I also want to talk about Ultra Q, and I'm only like 20 chapters in, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I should read that manga you brought up over and outside. Whatever.
It's very good.
Before we do that, I can get into some
Yeah.
production information that I gathered.
Oh, yes. Fantastic.
So as far as grab some wiki stuff for biographical information, but also Mill Creek in their handy steelbook Blu-ray disc has a little booklet with some production information. That's handy. And also there was this blog called Ultra Blog DX, which hasn't been updated in a while, but it's run by someone I think on Twitter called TriBlast28. It's pretty cool. They have some production stuff of different series. Hasn't been updated in a while, but may as well use resources that are there. So we got Ultra Q is like the first, I guess, original series produced by Subaraya Productions, who is still doing the Ultra series to this day. Founded by Eiji Subaraya, who was a special effects master. He got into history in the 20s. Got married in his 30s, and his wife turned him into a Catholic, which put a pin in that.
Okay.
I've been down that route, my friend. Well, I guess I never had a wife, but I was Catholic.
I'll say that'll be important in like 2 months. Incidentally, saw King Kong, and once it was like, oh shit, I want to do shit like that. Eventually becomes hired at Toho, the studio. World War II happens, as it does, and he's like gets involved in working on propaganda movies, as one does when you're in that kind of environment, I guess. Apparently, one of his movies was so well regarded in terms of effects, by Douglas MacArthur that he's like, hey, you can just use this as newsreel footage in the US. Apparently.
It's the weirdest fan to have in the world.
Douglas MacArthur watching Subaraya's movies and then just like shaking his head to show he doesn't approve of it.
Yeah.
Then the occupation happened, so he struggled to find work, tried to be freelance before working on Toho, where he got involved in a few small projects, some minor movies like Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra. Just some.
I've heard of some of these.
Yeah, some minor minor indie flicks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some humble successes.
Some humble successes. You know, kind of a big deal. That he went on a trip to the U.S. and was like, "Damn, look at these special effects industry." And he decided to make his own studio, Super High Productions, and so he used that as a way to like work with other studios. But also, he was still employed with Toho, and Toho was like, "Hey, we like you. You can use our props and actors, and we'll give you money, even though you're working for your own studio." And I was like, "That's weird," but I guess it worked for him. Then we get into the 60s, where we want to be like, fine, I want to make my own things. And he was like, just the television industry was just taking off. And so that's where he was like, well, I can move into television because that's like a blue ocean. He apparently really wanted this really high-end camera. It says an Oxbury optical printer specifically, but he couldn't afford it. So he got in a deal with TBS, Tokyo Broadcasting Station, to be like, hey, we'll get you this camera you want, but you have to make us an exclusive show. So, you know, nabbing the guy who did Godzilla, the monster, for you to do your show, TV for you is probably a pretty good get. Apparently, they had triple the budget most TV shows at the time. He had two pitches for sci-fi special effects shows. One was called Woo, and it was a drama, and it got canceled because it was too expensive. And the other was...
It was called Woo?
Yeah. It was called Woo. And then the next one was called Unbalanced, which was supposed to be a horror anthology series. I wonder what
that sounds like a young adult novel title now. Like, that's how that hits me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Sakurai was like, well, we're going to go forward with Unbalanced, this really cool anthology series. It'll be cool, it'll be spooky, it'll be weird. And TBS was like, hey, you're the Godzilla guy. Kaiju are pretty big right now. What if you just made the show really about kaiju? I think that'd be pretty good. You know, get the guy who did Godzilla to do kaiju stuff.
So, I think you'll find kaiju have been big all along. They're quite large. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you with that. That was terrible. Please continue.
Now I'm the one who's unbalanced. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, you know what, gotta do what the network says, gotta rework the entire show. And then also the Olympics happened, and they were like, dang, we need a new marketable name. Ultra C is new and hidden in as a term because of the Olympics. Can you make a title based off that? And so where I was like, we'll replace the C and put a Q, which stands for question, and that's how we get Ultra Q. Very weird how this happened.
It's a cool title, though.
It is a cool title. It's just weird how we get there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, just ends up being pushed back a few years until 66. He has to keep growing money from Toho, but eventually it airs and is really successful, and now we're doing this podcast like 60 years later.
I'm glad to know that networks have been fucking with toku shows and the people who make them since the very beginning.
It has always been like this.
Excellent. Perfect. I mean, obviously, you know, not nice for the people making the toku shows, but, you know, the fact that they've kept it up, that it's consistent, that's, you know.
This is a rich, storied history.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is, you know, this is making the robots fight every episode in a Gundam.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Ultra Q, we watched 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Should we do them one at a time, as they're all just very separate?
I would very much like to do them one at a time, yes.
I mean, it is an anthology series, so...
Yeah, I would like to do them one at a time, because one of them is not my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I have thoughts about the second one.
I will simply say to the audience, for the next 40, 60 minutes, you'll experience a parting of mind from the body and become swallowed into this mysterious time.
Fuck, I wrote it down too.
I mean, it's good. It primes you.
It's so sick. It's really
I
good.
can't get up and get like chips or like a drink or whatever when I'm watching this thing. I can't even, like, the pause button's right there, but I'm like, no, the narrator told me to strap
Yeah.
in, and I'm denying myself the experience if I take a break now.
Yeah. So I have I have summaries. So if you like, I'll go ahead and summarize episode 1. Episode 1 is called Defeat Gomez. During construction of a train tunnel from Osaka to Tokyo, a worker digs his way into a cave that has not been disturbed in millennia, and there he finds 2 things: a strange oversized egg and a huge Godzilla-like monster. A suspiciously Godzilla-like monster.
Very suspiciously, guys.
Yes. Man and egg are retrieved. Yuriko, a reporter, is sent to get photos by her boss, Seki. She is accompanied by helicopter pilots Jun and Ippei. The gang is all here. Ippei goes lore hunting with a boy named Jiro, who has taken an interest in the egg. From a scroll at a nearby temple, they learn that the egg contains Litra, a bird that spits a special acid and has a fated enemy, a giant monster called Gomez. Both are cold-blooded, and Jiro deduces that a rise in temperature has awoken them, spelling danger for anyone who enters the tunnel. Meanwhile, Yuriko and Jun have entered the tunnel. They run afoul of Gomez, and a cave-in prevents their escape. They kite Gomez through the caves until miners manage to dig them out. Outside, they find that Jiro and Ippei have hatched the egg in hopes that Litra will fight. Gomez bursts out of the tunnel, and so begins the battle of fated rivals, Litra and Gomez. Gomez mauls Litra, and Litra sprays Gomez with, like, laser acid. They die together, and in my head, Beyond the Time plays. The narrator tells us that there is now a small grave nearby the finished tunnel, a grave Jiro made for Litra. And that's episode 1, in the broadest terms. First of all, right at the top, telling who was going to be the main characters of this show was tricky.
Yeah, I had the same problem. I thought it was the kid for a bit.
So you mentioned in the summary that, like, Ippei goes off with, like, the kid, but he also goes off with another guy, and I thought that guy was also in part of the gang, but he's just not. He's just in this episode.
Yeah,
It's very confusing.
I wrote down, was the actor who played Nitta like a big, was he famous? Was he just in episode 1? Was he just a big name get? He felt like the main guy of whatever organization was going to be. No.
I think I saw that, like, Jin's actor was, like, actor in one of the earlier Godzilla movies. Like,
okay.
Much like Gomez himself may have been the film in one of the earlier Godzilla movies.
Yes, so this is the one bit of trivia I know about this episode, is that's just the fucking costume. That's just the Godzilla costume. Right?
Yeah.
With some stuff added on it.
They wasn't kidding when I said told them just let them use whatever the fuck they wanted. Like, jeez.
Nice.
Well, I was impressed too. So I saw that, and then I was curious because everything involving Litra, I'm like, this is just a Rodan movie. And then I looked into it, and apparently some of the props from Rodan were used then to make Litra as well. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense.
Also, I gotta say, Rodan, I saw it. Pretty good movie.
It's my favorite kaiju movie. I love Rodan so much, so I had a good time with this episode. Love me a big bird kaiju.
I have no idea what Rodan is. I'm learning.
Don't worry, one day we'll do Godzilla length. I don't know.
I mean, I've got movies to watch. I've got time, kind of. But yeah, I was with Razan on Jiro. I was like, oh, Jiro's gonna stick around, and he's gonna annoy me, but maybe he'll be all right. But no, he's just in this episode and then he's gone. I was like convinced he was gonna be a tag along for the rest of this show, but instead they just got this little nerd to hang around for a bit, reading some item descriptions, and then he left.
I really enjoy his commitment to trying to order Litra. Like, this giant bird hatches from this egg and has the most, like, obvious, like, don't fuck with me face in the world. This kid starts yelling at it like it's a fucking Pikachu.
Yeah, I was just like, this kid's like calling out like a Pokemon. And meanwhile, there's like, that's just a bird, dude. He's just like doing bird things.
Well, I love how he just is like the kaiju hatches and is like, I'm just gonna hang out on this cliff, and the kid's just yelling at it, and the bird does not care. There are zero fucks on this bird's expression. It's incredible.
It's yeah, he's Ippei especially just giving the kid weird looks all this time, just like I wouldn't I wouldn't fuck with it. I wouldn't do it. The moment it burst out of the thing and I realized, I was like, this is the appeal was they built this whole thing. They just built the whole set for the real place that they were filming. I was like, okay, I get it now. This is cool. This is sick as hell.
Yeah, so my dark confession that I'm happy we can get into early on, because it was a pleasant surprise for me going into the show. So on the tokusatsu side of things, I am much more interested in the kaiju stuff and humanity lamenting its failures and small stature in a world full of horrific, giant truths, I guess. More so than the superhero. Like, I enjoy, like, the Kamen Riders of the world, and, like, like I said, I grew up with, like, a lot of the Guyver stuff. Like, I enjoy the super heroic side of things, too, but I really thrive when I'm in that kaiju element and, like, the big monsters and stuff like that. So when I realized that this show is just, like, the Outer Limits or the Twilight Zone with, like, kaiju sensibilities, yes. I lost my mind. Like, I was so through the roof excited. I had a good time with this first episode. Like, even the suits look great. When I watched through the first time, I didn't realize even that they were, like, reused from, like, actual kaiju movies and stuff like that. But, kind of trying to look into the episodes and being prepared for this, I saw all of that, and I was not surprised because they look great. I think that the show benefits really well from how they're shooting things. Like, even I was impressed because when Gomez was first lurking about in the cave, I'm like, okay, they're using, like, the whole, like, black and white, like, staying in the shadows thing really well. And then, like, stuff starts to happen in the daylight, and it still looks really good. Mm. Gomez and Litra have this, like, I want to describe it as a visceral beatdown of each other. Like, there's a point where that bird gets knocked out of the sky with a tail, and I, like, winced.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the fact that
Gomez
no blood gets... Yeah.
I was just going to say, Gomez just, like, literally just takes a bite out of him, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And, like, the fact that there's, like, no blood shown or anything, but just, like, the hits are so heavy. Like, they sell it so well. I was very impressed. I had a good time with the first episode.
Yeah, Gomez, like mauling Litra, grappling it, and just taking bites out of it was just like, damn, okay, you gonna be okay? No, he was not
Litra
okay.
pecks Gomez in the eyes a couple times,
yes.
And it's like, oof.
And all the kids still just, like, cheer him on like a Pokemon.
Yes.
Yes. If I knew anything about Pokemon, I'd say a bird move.
Drill peck.
Peck.
There we go. Peck. That's a Pokemon bird move. There we go. Literally use Peck. So I learned something watching this episode. Last week I said I had seen 3 episodes of this show. I had not watched 3 episodes of this show. I remembered a Godzilla, a King Kong, and an acid-spitting bird, and I'd forgotten that 2 of them were in the same episode. So I got into episode 3 fresh, which was fucking great. Let me tell you. Anyway.
We'll get to it.
We can't get a... Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah. So, one question I have is... Yuriko, the photographer, feels like an already established archetype in some way. Is that true, or am I just watching, like... Am I just assuming something?
I'm not sure.
I mean, I feel like, in general, the, like, intrepid reporter who goes and chases dangerous stories has been just something since, like, the dawn of cinema.
Yeah, but I guess it's something about the outfit I feel like I've seen somewhere before, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I might be inventing it.
I weirdly have history with this because one of one of the fuck around and find out, not even that, just fuck off classes I took in university. I had a journalism minor. Was a class all about studying the history of depictions of journalism in film. Going all the way back to like the earliest depictions like that we know of, or, at least that my professor knew of. And like there was absolutely an archetype, at least in early Hollywood. I can't so much speak on the, Japanese side of things, of like, journalists are a very easy like protagonist because that they have like literally it is their job to go chase anything interesting that's happening. So you have a very easy in. But yeah, I'm not sure what exactly in terms of like, Japanese movies and stuff like that, if there was, I'm sure, there's at that point probably decades of movies and TV shows, and I'm sure that archetype did.
You know what I might be doing? I might just be thinking of the hat that the girl wears in the Kamen Rider Ryuki opening.
Fair enough.
That might be what's happening.
I think it is an inspired choice to have your protagonist be an intrepid reporter girl and her 2 pilot boyfriends.
So, okay, I was confused about... So, at first I thought that... I was confused how exactly this works. But, so, they're not with the newspaper, right?
No, they just operate out of an airfield that the newspaper uses.
Okay, that's where I was not entirely sure how these 3 knew each other. But then... that's kind of what I thought, but I wasn't entirely sure. Because I was like, does the newspaper have their own, like, air serve? Like, I was so confused, but yeah, that makes much more sense.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pin down who was going to be the main character was tricky, but watching episode 2, I was like, okay, so we got, it's Yuriko, it's Jun, it's Ippei, and then we got in the background, we've got Seki, who's at all times demanding pictures of Spider-Man, but yes. Spider-Man is a kaiju. Do we have anything else about episode 1?
Laser acid. That's it.
Laser acid. When they said spit acid, I was expecting liquid, and then like the laser happened, and I was like, that's a pretty cool acid. I don't know if I'd call it an acid.
Yeah, I will say I'm watching the Blu-rays of this. Like, I'm assuming Mel, you are too.
Yep.
And I was very impressed with just like how clear the remasters on this were. Like, it looks great. So that was just nice. But
right, something to mention. When the logo appearing right at the beginning, coolest thing in the world.
Yeah,
very cool logo. Big fan of just presumably just pouring whatever that stuff is onto a liquid and then turning it and then just putting it in rewind and going, yeah, that's it. It looks really cool. Post it. Okay, moving on to episode 2, Goro and Goro, which is one that I have the most notes about, but which isn't my favorite of the 3. I have a summary here. Episode 2, Goro and Goro. Catastrophe has struck at a monkey research lab. Something got into a supply of super walnuts. I didn't take down the specific name of what the it was something. The point is, the walnuts cause excessive growth in monkeys. The researchers, along with basically everyone else in the world for everything, blame Goro, a man who was raised by monkeys and seems unable to communicate with humans, whether that's because he's deaf or because he was raised by monkeys, we'll talk about, because my subs did not mention anything about him being deaf. Jun, Ippei, and Seki head to Amagi Mountain to investigate reports of a giant monkey causing trouble. They find the monkey carrying Goro and worry for his safety until the researchers calm them down, assuring everyone that Goro the monkey would never harm Goro the man. Now from here, the summary, bear with me. Seki slaps a photo of Goro, the monkey, on the front page, and Yuriko returns from a trip to Elian Island. There, she was reporting on the hunt for Japanese soldiers left over from the war, but all she found was a giant monkey, similar to Goro, which is worshipped by a local tribe. Both giant monkeys have eaten the super walnuts, which were supplied to Japanese soldiers during the war. Meanwhile, Goro, the man, has been arrested for stealing food to feed Goro, the monkey. With his friend in a jail cell, Goro, the monkey, rampages through a city. Seki devises a plan to free Goro, the man, and trick him into feeding Goro, the monkey, a drink laced with what must be incredibly powerful sedatives, sending Goro, the monkey, to sleep. Seki says his company will pay for Goro, the monkey, to be transported to Alien Island, and everyone gets emotional over the friendship between human and monkey. The gang gets so caught up in their feelings that nobody tells Goro, the man, that he hasn't just, killed his friend. It's so fucked up. They're all just he's, crying. Ultra Q immediately throwing us in at the deep end with this one.
Yeah.
We got some shit to talk about. Where do we want to start?
Well, before we get into the heavier shit, I just want to say every scene of this giant monkey man just gulping down milk jugs is a mood.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like me, for real. But
he's the monkey is good. I like the monkey. He's having a good time. And then when he's not having a good time, he's breaking buildings, and it's pretty cool. The monkey is good. So the thing with this episode is, first of all, everything is heightened by the opening narration, even, which is wanting to ground the subject in scientific fact, or at least an air of scientific rigor, where it's a chemical imbalance in the human body causes increased growth as well. So a Dragon Ball Ozaru is perfectly reasonable. and I'm like, yes, naturally, I'm all for this. And sure, this is fine. But now there is an air of scientific rigor in the air, and the episode gets into evolution. And it's trying to piece this together. What the show's trying to do is draw an evolutionary line from monkeys to quote unquote primitive tribes, or through to quote unquote civilized society. And then on top of that, they build this narrative about a man raised by monkeys who can't relate to humans, and use that to gesture at the idea of, there isn't that much that separates us from our origins, or more specifically, that it's the ability to communicate thoughts and feelings in a, again, quote unquote, sophisticated manner that separates us from animals. And it's a lot. So first of all, I want to get, so the wiki says that Goro is deaf. I didn't have that in my subs.
I didn't have that in my subs either, or I could also be wrong, because I have the same subs as Razzle.
I could have sworn it was in mine, but maybe it wasn't.
They said he was mute. But
they did say that. I do remember that.
Yeah, I know for a fact they did use that. They do use mute. Huh.
But it's I can't tell whether it's just a case of, it's a thing where he has been, the show is he's been raised by monkeys, he can't relate to human beings anymore, he can't communicate anymore, and it's this weird, he's closer, it's strange. The other part of this is that the episode kind of wants to gesture at the negatives of, again, quote unquote, all the sophisticated communication and sophistication has brought us, which is, we have lost our peaceful, more natural ways. And it's really demeaning. It's Jun says something about understanding why Goro prefers monkeys to people. And Yuriko writes about how Alien Island is a peaceful Eden. But they're comparing them to monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all the stuff relating to the Pacific Islanders is hey, that's not good.
yeah, it's like I be like all like her her in the photo stood there with a pith helmet is so wild. They're going all the way in with this like this is like paternalistic, like racist perspective, but it's I not even the main cast escape from this either. Because in her letter, Yuriko's like, oh yeah, we saw an orangutan that looked like Ippei. I was like, oh, you mean the idiot of the group? That's fucked up. So I was less into this episode than the first one.
I will say, the scene where Goro gets caught stealing, and the villagers just, like, completely start to wail on him, and basically talk about the part of the reason that I had thought that the show had stated at some point that he was deaf. I guess I feel like part of that is because that a phrase that is no longer used anymore when describing deaf people is deaf mute. And the reason that fell out of favor with the community was because, the idea that just because someone is deaf does not mean that they are mute. There are still methods for them to communicate with the world. So it's not exactly, an appropriate thing to say. But then they lean into it really hard in that scene where I think it's one of the main characters is like, okay, like calm it down with beating on this guy even though he got caught stealing. And like the villagers are like, oh, it's not like he can't even understand anything you're telling him, or like just like really denies like any sort of like dignity or treatment of Goro as a human. And then the cops come and they don't really care either. And it's rough. It sucks.
There's not nothing here. Certainly there's like sympathy for Goro. But it's colored by, like the ending scene where it's all, oh, isn't it cute how much he likes the monkey? It's like
it very much feels like they're saying, "Oh, this man belongs with the monkeys," and like it sucks.
Also, there's the last shot where Goro's just like screaming, and like it just zooms out, and it's like, oh, okay, that's rude to me.
Yeah, rude to Goro. That's the summary of this episode. Everyone has been rude to Goro. So I'm reading the wiki right now. I believe I did see it in the wiki. It said that he was, a young deaf man named Goro. So I don't know if it's just that it didn't come up in our subs or something.
I think it's fully possible that, I mean, like, me watching this, I just assumed that that's what they were going for, but I think you might be right. I think it might literally just be...
I suppose wikis have been wrong before. We know this.
Yeah, we fucking know this as Gundam fans, Christ.
Yes.
I would not be surprised if what they were actually going for was, oh, he was raised by monkeys. He does not know how to interact with humanity. And all he can do is be this janitor at this lab and get yelled at by people. I could... The more I think about the episode and what they're doing with it, that seems more likely to me.
They're so mean to him from the jump. They hit him over nothing. It's wild.
Well, they say something like, you're 19, you can't do this. It's rough. And then he runs past like a mailman or something. He's like, oh, hey, it's the monkey boy. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like...
No one will give this man a break.
Like, Big Goro is right and deserves to slap around all these people.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, we're coming down on the side of Goro in this podcast.
Yes.
Oh, we are coming down on the side of Goro and Goro in this podcast.
Yeah.
Again, I thought the giant monkey was good. I liked it when he did a roll. He's cool.
I like him even at the beginning when he's climbing on the like the line car or whatever. I don't know what those are called, but
I think line cars, right?
Yeah,
kind of.
I think so.
It's funny how little the opening segment actually matters in this episode.
Yeah, yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
It's literally just there to show, hey, a giant fucking monkey showed up.
It's got the energy of like the opening of a Law & Order episode, except instead of
Yeah, I was totally expecting like Thunderbirds. Those people are stuck in there. They need to be rescued.
No, they just leave.
They just leave. They're just fine. They just switch the direction. They
You
go
can
away.
leave.
You can leave. Shall we move on to episode 3,
Yes.
which is my favorite of the 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Which is maybe, there's some bias showing in the summary is a little longer, but also there's a little more going on. Episode 3 is The Gift from Space. While flying near an active volcano to get pictures, Jun and Yuriko spot a UFO falling into the sea. It is the capsule from an unmanned mission to Mars, but how could it have returned? A doctor with an amazing beard wonders if maybe someone might have sent it back. In a meeting to discuss these events, the doctor reviews strange photos taken by the capsule and examines 2 small gold spheres that were found inside. Someone jokes that it might be a gift from Martians. Further examination is required, and they stash the spheres in a bank vault. What's the worst that could happen? A series of coincidences. That's what. This is coincidence 1. A thief breaks into the vault overnight to steal money and grabs the box containing the spheres. Coincidence 2. He then heads to Jun's airfield and demands a midnight flight at gunpoint. A classic 60s fistfight ensues, some like proper Captain Kirk shit, and one of the spheres falls to the floor. Jun is forced to relent, flying the thief to the island where the active volcano is located. Coincidence 3. The thief lays low in a cave with a partner in crime and very literally fumbles the bag, sending the second gold sphere into a hot pool of water. The sphere expands from the heat, revealing itself to be an alien egg, a giant slug monster called... Well, the name does not appear in the episode, but I know that it is called Namagon. Emerges, shooting lasers from its eyes and killing the 2 thieves.
Never put anything near heat in this universe.
Never.
Ever. That's what these first 3 episodes taught us.
Unless it's Litra and you need it to kill Gomez.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the one time.
You'll get something interesting to happen if you put a weird alien object in your heat, is what these 3 episodes taught us.
Reports of a monster at the volcano reach Seki, and only Yuriko is brave enough to go. On the way to the island, Ippei has a gift for her. It's the first gold sphere, which he found in the office and made a pendant out of. At the island, the gang discovers the dead thieves and the monster. They flee, with Namagon in pursuit. Jun leads it to a cliff edge, and Namagon topples into the sea, where it melts in the salt water. Crisis averted, the gang visits the doctor, and they wonder why the Earth was sent such a dangerous gift. The doctor posits that it was a warning from an advanced Martian society that recognizes our attempts to become a spacefaring civilization as a threat. Perhaps we are being tested. Perhaps it's a message that we have too many problems on Earth to solve before venturing to other planets. Well, it doesn't matter now, the threat's past. Yuriko's pendant strays too close to an open flame and begins expanding. Jun throws it out of the window. A second monster hatches, and the narrator helpfully informs us that this one won't be hard to deal with. But if the space race continues, then the next gift will be one that thrives in salt water. Ultra's fucking cool. Oh, this shit's fucking cool.
Yeah, I will say, I don't know, actually, I think this episode I liked, but I feel like I maybe liked a little bit, well, okay, in retrospect, I do think I liked it more than the Goro. Well, the Goro stuff has too much fraud elements to it, but...
Sorry to ruin Goro.
No, I mean, honestly, a lot of that stuff I was thinking of watching it too. It's just discussing it in further details. I'm like, yeah, that was a very overbearing element of the episode. But I thought it was... I think most of it was, well, there's 2 things here. One, I did think that the ending being, oh, this one is gonna be easy to deal with because, you know, the world's full of salt water. But what if the world being full of salt water was a bad thing? Think about
so
that.
Funny.
And I was like,
so funny.
I was like, holy shit, there was a deadline, wasn't there, buddy? But my one hang up that I kind of had is, and I don't know, I feel like as I get older, I kind of feel weird about alien invasion narratives too.
Okay.
Just because, I don't know, I tend to enjoy narrative stuff like this where, like, you know, giant monsters or like risks to humanity come from the inside sort of thing, rather than being something like the cosmic horror of there being unknown things in the universe. While I think that can be fun too, I don't know, it hooks me less than it used to when I was younger. Maybe this is just the fact that I spend way too much time thinking about how we as people fail each other and harm each other, but, you know, that's life. But, like, the kind of crux of the alien thing happening being just these two fucks who decided to rob a bank, I found a little bit less compelling than, like, say, Goro was the result of, I think they said, like, leftover military science. I think they say at some point.
Yeah,
because it's a super walnut thing that they supplied to Japanese soldiers as like superfoods during the war.
Yes. And then the first episode was literally just the classic "we dug too deep into the world. We're messing too much with our environment" sort of thing for the sake of human progress and convenience and all that stuff. So I found the alien setup just a little bit less compelling. I come to a lot of kaiju stuff with the enjoyment of it a lot of the time being like, hey, this is a reflection on humans' relationship with the planet on which we live. So that being said, giant slug monster, cool as hell. The scene where it flops into the ocean and melts, incredible, loved it. But just the fact that it kind of came from the outside rather than within was a little less exciting for me, but overall still a very good episode.
Yeah. I got some thoughts. First of all, I feel like my expectation was that this episode was going to end like 2 minutes earlier than it did.
Okay.
Like I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna zoom in. Oh look, they're zooming in the pendant. They're revealing that's where the last egg was, and they're just gonna freeze on that shot, and the episode's gonna end. And then it just keeps going, and the egg hatches, and there's a second monster, and the episode ends without dealing with the monster. And like Ippei and Yuriko are like, oh no, the monster, you gotta hide. And meanwhile, like the professor and Jun are like, well, we gotta get some salt water to deal with this shit, and like leave the room. And it's like, oh, okay.
I love how he just like yelled. So this is great. They're playing hot potato with this expanding slug egg, and then like this fucking doctor man just like calls up an intern. He's like, "Hey, go make some salt water." And it's just like,
I love the idea. Go make a kaiju-sized like vat of salt water immediately.
But I also love that like their first response to, oh shit, we got a giant growing alien egg, is they just chuck it out the fucking window. Like it's like that's what I would do, honestly.
Just sitting on the front steps, basically, just on the.
Yeah.
I think it is very funny that early in the episode they're like, we don't know if we can trust these golden eggs. We got put somewhere safe. Immediately cuts to just a random guy right into the wall.
I like this episode because it was slightly shoddy and ridiculous.
Yes.
I was like, so what's the crucial fault of humanity that is going to lead to these monsters appearing? And it's, some guy broke into a bank. I was like, okay.
I'm just wondering why they put that shit in the bank. Like
they put it in the fucking bank.
You put the alien.
It was a simpler time. You got something important, you just put it in the bank.
Put the alien eggs in the fucking bank.
It's gold, isn't it? Let's just put it in the bank. It just makes perfect sense. Them having like a dramatic fist fight. Like over, I'm not gonna fly you away, and the result being he knocks out his pilot and then presumably carries him to the plane off screen, puts him in the seat, and then slaps him until he wakes up and go, okay, fly me now. I won. It's fair and square. We have to go.
Was that cave set the same one they used for the first episode, by the way? I wanted to go back and check, but I didn't really.
I have no idea.
Another thing I think is enjoyable is just like what's the newspaper boss's name again? Forgot his name.
Oh wait, Seki?
Seki, yeah. He's like just telling this guy to report on the kaiju, and Yuriko's like, "Oh shit, I'll go," and he's like, and as if like Yuriko's just like all on this kaiju business, and then meanwhile they go to the
Yuriko rules.
Yeah, then they go to the island, and like the entire gang is like meeting up with these soldiers. And like, oh, we are going in. There's a monster there, and then like Jun and the gang is like, all right, we'll go in, and it's just like within the span of like 3 episodes, maybe more. These three have just been like, yeah, we're like the mystery machine gang of kaiju, and we're just like, yeah, we'll roll with this, whatever.
Yuriko asks someone for their torch, for their flashlight, and they go, "Oh yeah, here you go." And Ippei, seeing the opportunity, turns to like the cop or the soldier or something, and points at his gun and say, "Oh, can I have that?" And it's like, no, fuck off, absolutely not.
And then the best part is like Ippei is just like, "Oh, cool, come with us then," and he just drags him.
Yeah.
I feel the need to give Ippei a little bit of shit. So that scene with him and Yuriko in the plane when he gives her the pendant. So first of all, tell him when you're in a small cramped plane, telling a woman, "Hey, close your eyes," and then putting something around their neck, not a good move. Second of all, when she is then impressed by the pendant that you gave her, and she goes, "Oh, it must have been expensive," don't reply back, "Yeah, not really."
Moron. That shit looks solid gold. Brag about it, mate.
I forget. Was it like revealed right away that it was like the same thing?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which means Yuriko walked into the doctor's office at the end, with that around her neck. Everyone just filed in, and the doctor paid no mind. It was just like, "Oh, that's normal."
You didn't notice.
That's not the thing. That's just I don't know what that is. The actual the other thing that I like about this episode is in terms of it being like kind of alien invasion-y, it does kind of come from it's like delve too deep in the opposite direction. It's like all about like the space race and the politics behind that, and like using it to like fuel like human greed and stuff, and we have all these problems on Earth that we can't, it's classic.
Now that you say that is true. I feel like they do discuss at some point, and I kind of forgot about this until you just brought this up. They do talk about some point about the space race, like, and its kind of existence as a dick measuring contest between different nations, and how that fosters further division, if I recall. So that is an element for sure.
It being like the consequence of them like launching an unmanned probe at Mars that just it just crashed into Mars. It didn't fucking do anything, and Martians presumably just being like, "What the like waking up in the middle of the night? What the fuck was that? Who threw this into my backyard?" and then throwing it back and just be like, "Fuck you, shut up, stay down on Earth. You ain't fixed your shit yet." Which is, I like that, but also yes, I do recognize this is the episode that is like the least like solidly put together of the three. It's definitely reliant on a bunch of wacky happenstances in the middle there.
I feel like with every anthology show of the, like, not every episode of the fucking Twilight Zone was a banger, let's be honest. Like, we're gonna get these every now and again, I feel. But I will say though, I still enjoyed this episode a lot. I had a really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ultra Q is a cool show. Is what I'm learning from watching it. I'm a fan. Do we have anything else?
I don't think so. I had a really, like, as soon as I realized what this show was going into the first episode, I got so much more excited. I think I've hit the watch along podcast curse of, oh fuck, I have to limit myself to only 3 of these a week.
Right.
Yeah.
like I could see me like marathoning this in another world in like 2 or 3 sessions because I had such a great time. And they're short. They're only like, again, as the narrator describes, only 30 minutes each. They get in and get out, and it's just a good anthology show. I'm having a great time so far.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Cool. So if we don't have anything else, I think that's a podcast. In terms of plugs, let me just start right at the top. You can follow the podcast at UltraQ on Twitter. That is at ultra_QUEUE. You can follow me at gender_redacted, which isn't essential. There's not much going on there. Don't worry about that. Does anyone else have any plugs?
Yeah, you can follow me at Rosenbrand on Twitter.com. And then also I have a YouTube channel, which is also called Rosenbrand. Gonna try to wrap up that Elden Ring playthrough soon-ish. It's gonna probably take me another month or so. And aside from that, I'm gonna try to carve out time to stream Final Fantasy XIV more, because I need to get through A Realm Reborn. It's like pulling teeth, but, that's MMOs, I guess.
I would just like to say I recognize your Melania struggle.
Thank you.
The burden of just trying to stick with your build and prove it works against her. I know it.
Thank you.
It's painful.
This is a hell of my own design. I understand.
Yes.
I could just go to the witch lady and be like, hey, let's do something a little more efficient. But like, this is the path I've chosen, and I feel like it would be cowardice for me to stray from it. Like, I just need to prove that I had it within me this whole time.
Yes, we are both the same fool on this. Don't worry.
Okay.
I understand the A Realm Reborn struggle, because I also tried that and bounced off it.
Streaming makes it easier because the people that show up for my chat to shoot the shit or whatever and, poke fun at the random side quests and ongoings in the game and give me gameplay advice are very nice people. So that has been helping, thankfully. But
that probably
I might be going to that fan fest solely to hang out with friends I know who would be going. But I also don't want to be the guy who hasn't been at least till Realm Reborn and is going to the big fuck off like Vegas Final Fantasy XIV con because that feels like I would feel bad. I'd feel like I'm taking someone who deserves it more as a ticket. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. But
yeah. I guess I have my Twitter at DearCrown. Same with Red. I don't have much going on. I will just throw in that we have an email as well.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
what?
I didn't know we had an email.
It's in the group chat, whatever. It's
About this, I did not see this.
it's ultraqpod@gmail.com. I don't know when we'll actually answer emails. We might do it later.
Oh, when you said we had an email, I thought you meant like someone literally already wrote to us.
No.
I was like, about fucking what? Did someone get pissed off at what we said about shit Ultraman already? Okay.
It's been one day and people are already mad. No. We get the email. That's ultraqpod@gmail.com. You can send in emails. I don't know if we'll do a read the end of the episode thing or if we'll do a at the end of the season thing. I guess we'll figure it out.
I will figure it out. We'll see how many emails we get.
Yeah,
I guess is
they'll probably help.
I guess is the thing. Send us emails.
Yeah.
You should do that.
I mean, the way
I don't know what the emails are going to be about.
Yeah,
but
I mean, the way things have been going, like releasing an episode and then recording the day after, I don't know how emails get.
Listen, we're ahead.
We're ahead.
We're ahead. We're living in the future or the past,
True.
one or the other. Cool. Well, if that is a podcast, thank you for listening. Join us next time for 3 more episodes of Ultra Q.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye bye.